election interference. And they go out and they ask you to post a $500 million bond. Maria, I want to put that in context. I went out to the largest sureties in the world, the largest sureties in the country. They said, Eric, the last time we've seen a bond of that size is when we did the big dig in Boston, which was a $25 billion construction project that lasted almost 25 years. They're trying to put my father out of business. They're trying to take all his resources that he would otherwise put into his own campaign for presidency. This is New York State. This is what we're seeing. Letitia James campaigned on this promise, and now they're making him do something that's not physically possible. Putting up a $500 million bond. Bonds that size don't exist in this country. A $10 million bond is a large bond. A $15 million bond is an enormous bond. A $500 million bond. Every single person, when I came to them saying, hey, can I get a $500 million bond? Maria, they were laughing. They were laughing. Yeah. Top executives of the largest surety companies had never seen anything of this size. And what, they're going to start seizing assets? If he can't put up something that's not available?
There's an old saying amongst law-abiding Americans that says, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime, right? Because it's a lesson that Eric Trump might be learning as he and Donnie Jr. are also on the hook for that massive judgment against them in the New York fraud case that they all lost. But he's not concerned about the money he's losing, he says. He's actually concerned about those regular Americans that are going to suffer.
And Maria, remember one thing. The banks all testified Trump was the greatest borrower we've ever had. I mean, there was no victim. This is a crooked system with a crooked attorney general in a crooked court that literally wants to put my father out of business. And you know who they're actually going to hurt? They're going to hurt the thousands and thousands of employees that we have in New York State. These are janitors. These are doormen. These are, people that work in commercial buildings. They're going to hurt those individuals, not the executives. They're going to hurt those individuals. How about all the contractors that we employ to do build outs? How about everybody else that relies on our family, thousands of people, all for their own political vendetta? It's insane.
This is stage 2 of their victimhood argument, claiming that the court system is trying to destroy the lives of Trump's doormen, janitors, and office staff, with no mention of how little they cared about these folks' livelihoods when the corporation was engaging in fraudulent business practices. Did Eric ever stop and wonder, if we get busted breaking all these laws, Jimmy the doorman might be out of a job, so we'd better straighten out our lives? Hell no. It's laughable to even imagine them giving a damn about their staff when they were pocketing hundreds of millions of dollars based on their fraud. The former president illustrated what his actual focus is on when he posted this. Crooked pals. They should be no fine. Did nothing wrong. Why should I be forced to sell my babies because a corrupt New York judge and AG set a fake and ridiculous number? Take his cash so that he can't use it to defeat his political opponent, crooked Joe Biden. Election interference, all headed up by the White House. This includes Fani and the corporate Manhattan DA Bragg, admitted that there was no crime, was mortified by what Mark Pomerantz did, and he should be. Witch hunt. The Trump's talking point of the more than $460 million judgment being fake as a number is another ploy to fool his followers into thinking that everyone operates without any standards the way that he does. But watch how Maria Bartiromo fully believes the lie and accidentally asks the follow-up that Eric just can't answer.
I'm trying to understand how this number came about, $454 million or $464 million, and what the real number is. How did they come up with this number?
You know what? It was a crooked number. There are no victims. There is no number. Right. The number should be zero. My father's run a great company. I run a great company.
So you either have no idea where the number came from, or you don't want to admit how they came up with that number, in case it convinces more people that the decision was based on the case, just like the other cases that he lost, with nothing to refute them except making it political. Now, Trump did get the appellate division to lower his bond to just $175 million in order to keep complaining about his legal issues, in hopes of passing them off as political again. The fraternity of rich guys, they're not happy either.
But more importantly, the message about the American brand. You think about America, the reason this is the #1 economy on earth is that we have laws and we have due process and we have property rights. It attracts foreign capital from all around the world. All of that is being shaken to the core here. The concept of seizing assets in 30 days on a bond number that's never been issued. No insurance bond company's ever issued anything near this, so there was no chance it was going to happen. And only giving 30 days notice and time, that's a really bad message.
It's all being shaken to the core. Kevin O'Leary also mentioned laws as the reason the country attracts foreign capital, with no discussion about how the laws shouldn't look away from a major name in America, showing the world that he thinks those same rules shouldn't apply to him. But the gaslighting always tries to convince regular Americans that rich people being allowed to break the law to further enrich themselves is something that benefits us all, and not just them.
This is case setting against the American brand. The most stable country on earth, anywhere, to put capital to work over a long period of time, particularly in real estate, is the United States of America. This is an assault on what we believe to be core. And I find it extraordinary. I think it's very troubling. It has absolutely nothing to do with Donald Trump at this point, in my view, and it is completely bipartisan. This is an attack on America. And I don't know how you can look at it any other way. And as an investor, and I know plenty of investors who are completely disturbed by this, but I mean, no one is going to put any money to work in New York in these amounts until this thing settles down. The whole world is watching, and everybody's waiting for one thing we haven't got yet: adult supervision. Where is it? Where are the adults in this crazy narrative? Certainly there's got to be adult supervision at some point. And I understand, you know, the war going on here and all the political yada, yada, woof, woof, woof. But we need an adult in the room now. This is the United States of America under siege.
So how many different ways will we be told that accountability and personal responsibility for Donald Trump will lead to the destruction of America? If nothing else, this should show us that folks like this have enjoyed an alternate legal reality for so long. They think that being held accountable is the equivalent of the country being held under siege. If Jimmy the doorman hadn't paid his taxes in years while lying about his income and expenses, is the country under siege when the IRS comes to garnish his wages? It might be because Jimmy's public brand isn't about how rich he is.
Keith, do you believe it's a political advantage? Do you buy that?
Well, yeah, of course, it is a political advantage for Donald Trump and his supporters, but for no one else in the conscious world is it a positive thing for a candidate for president of the United States to have a $500 million judgment against him that he can't pay, to be insulted publicly. People are calling him Don Corleone online, to have the idea that this guy has had his university shut down and fined, he's had his foundation shut down and fined, he's had his business convicted and of 17 felonies, his CFO incarcerated, he's had his lawyer in prison, and now here he is himself, after having 6 bankruptcies before he comes in office and 2 impeachments since he came in office. Now he has a $500 million judgment that he can't meet in court today. No one in the conscious world would take this seriously except for the people who live in the cult of Donald Trump's world.
And that brand is something Trump expects others to defend, no matter how much he tries to destroy it.
No victim, there's no damages. They're trying to bankrupt a businessman for paying back sophisticated Wall Street banks with interest, on time, in full, as agreed. And the banks have said and testified that they'd love to do more business with Donald Trump.
Want to do more.
But you have to put this case in the proper context of the lawfare and the unconstitutional illegality that Democrats have brought against Donald Trump. They illegally spied on his campaign. They sabotaged his administration. They undermined his presidency. They impeached him twice. They arrested him 4 times. They indicted him 4 times. They charged him 91 times. They tried to ban him from ballots. They raided his private residence. And now they're trying to bankrupt him using unconstitutional, illegal lawfare because they can't beat him at the ballot box.
After reeling off his laundry list of legal issues that he has insufficiently defended himself against, what most people would think is that this guy has been getting his hands dirty in more ways than any of us could have ever imagined. No context as to why he's been indicted, criminally charged, impeached, or raided. Just whining and complaining about the same legal system that takes down people not named Donald Trump for fraud, theft, rape, and sedition. Sounds like an endorsement for one guy to be above the law. It's a reality that Trump's own party railed against before they literally fell into the trap that they warned everyone against when their political lives and disdain for the country weren't the most important thing to them.
You compared Donald Trump to a third world dictator yesterday in an interview with the New York Times. How so?
Well, I don't know about a dictator. I said a third world strongman. He's running for president, so no matter what, he won't be a dictator unless our republic completely crumbles, which I don't anticipate it will. But yeah, here's what happens in many countries around the world. You have a leader that emerges and basically says, don't put your faith in yourselves, don't put your faith in society, put your faith in me. I'm a strong leader, and I'm going to make things better all by myself. This is very typical. You see it in the third world. You see it a lot in Latin America for decades. It's basically the argument he's making that he single-handedly is going to turn the country around. We've never been that kind of country. We have a president. The president is an American citizen who serves for a period of time, constrained by the constitutions and the powers vested in that office. The president works for the people, not the people for the president. And if you listen to the way he describes himself and what he's going to do, he's going to single-handedly do this and do that without regard for whether it's legal or not. Look, I think people are going to have to make up their mind. I can tell you this, no matter what happens in this election, for years to come, there are many people on the right, in the media, and voters at large that are going to be having to explain and justify how they fell into this trap of supporting Donald Trump, because this is not going to end well one way or the other.